Breaking news from Red Bull Racing. Team principal Laurent Mekies has just dropped a bombshell about Max Verstappen that could shake the paddock to its core. New evidence has surfaced, pointing to a controversial decision made behind closed doors after Verstappen's epic recovery drive in Brazil. With just 3 races to go, the 2025 World Championship is on the line and Verstappen is still in the fight. If you love F1 drama and pure racing brilliance, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Max Verstappen's drive in Brazil was more than just damage control, it was a masterclass in racecraft, resilience, and raw talent. After starting from the pit lane due to overnight setup changes, Verstappen was already facing impossible odds. But that's when he becomes most dangerous. The Interlagos circuit, known for its unforgiving bumps, tight traction zones, and unpredictable weather shifts, is no place for hesitation. And Max? He never hesitates. From lap 1, he was already weaving through the backmarkers with the aggression of a rookie and the intelligence of a world champion. The most underrated detail of his comeback wasn't the overtakes themselves, it was how he managed the tire degradation while staying on full attack. Red Bull's bold call to go for a 3-stop strategy could have easily backfired. Most teams were playing it safe with 2 stops, worried about thermal degradation on the rear tires. But Verstappen and his engineer Gianpiero Lambiase had other ideas. They wanted Max on softs when the others were fading. And when that third stint came, he carved through the midfield with frightening precision. This wasn't luck. This was surgical execution. Perhaps the highlight of the race came when Verstappen locked horns with the new generation George Russell and Kimi Antonelli. Both were on fresher tires, both had track position, and both were in cars dialed in for top-end speed. Verstappen, however, relied on something more dangerous than pure pace: anticipation. His race IQ allowed him to size up their braking patterns, DRS tendencies, and even corner exit weaknesses. When the moves came, they were clean, fast, and merciless. He passed Russell on the outside of turn 1, a line no one else dared try all weekend. But even Verstappen's near-perfect race had setbacks. On lap 13, a front right puncture threatened to undo everything. Most drivers would have panicked. Max didn't even flinch. He communicated calmly, boxed immediately, and shifted his mental plan in real time. It's that capacity to adapt mid-race to stay emotionally detached while driving on the edge that separates Verstappen from the rest. This wasn't just a recovery, it was a reminder to Red Bull, Ferrari, and every other team that he's not leaving this championship without a war. Behind the scenes, the performance sparked mixed emotions inside the Red Bull garage. Engineers celebrated the result, but whispers of frustration echoed through the paddock. With Mekies now steering the team in a more structured, corporate direction post-Horner, Verstappen's freedom may be at risk. But here's the irony: every time Red Bull tightens the reins, Verstappen proves he thrives in chaos. When the data is against him, when the odds collapse, that's when he drives like a man possessed. The question now is whether Red Bull is smart enough to unleash him or foolish enough to restrain him. The issue inside Red Bull isn't pace. It isn't engineering. It's something far more volatile: direction. With Christian Horner gone and Laurent Mekies stepping in as team principal, a new leadership style has emerged. One rooted in structure, control, and central decision-making. But Verstappen has never been a driver who fits neatly into systems. His greatest strength lies in instinct, in making split-second calls that override telemetry. And now, Red Bull faces a question that could define their future. Do they continue to trust the man who brought them 4 world titles, or do they force him to fit into Mekies' blueprint? This conflict isn't theoretical, it's already happening. In Brazil, Verstappen made calls on setup and strategy that clashed with internal projections. Red Bull wanted a conservative balance. Max wanted raw grip. Red Bull preferred a 2-stop plan. Max pushed for 3. The result? Verstappen's version 1. But instead of praise, Mekies' post-race comments highlighted procedural misalignments and limited oversight. It may sound diplomatic, but make no mistake, this was a warning shot. And Verstappen's camp heard it loud and clear. From the outside, fans saw a heroic drive. But from the inside, there was tension in every radio exchange. Gianpiero Lambiase had to defend Verstappen's calls to engineers who were pushing back on data. Mekies, watching from the pit wall, reportedly kept communication channels closed during Max's final stint. It was a silent standoff. And while the result delivered a podium, it exposed a deeper problem. Trust is eroding between Verstappen and the new leadership. This isn't the first time Red Bull has danced with internal friction. But unlike past seasons, there's no buffer now. No Horner to mediate. No Helmut Marko to play politics. Mekies brings discipline, but Verstappen brings dominance. The collision of those two forces is already creating instability at the worst possible moment. The team should be united, hunting down Norris and McLaren. Instead, there are factions forming behind closed doors. And here lies the danger. If Verstappen feels restrained, if he starts believing that his instincts are being sidelined, the consequences could be irreversible. Max isn't the type to play politics. He's direct, brutally honest, and obsessively focused on performance. When that focus is disrupted by internal agendas, it impacts everything from risk tolerance and overtakes to trust in tire calls. And for a team in the middle of a championship hunt, that margin for error simply doesn't exist. Because Red Bull isn't fighting just for podiums, they're fighting to keep Verstappen. Not contractually, but emotionally. When a driver of his caliber begins to question the environment, the first thing to go is not commitment, it's belief. And once belief is gone, no amount of machinery, data, or PR can bring it back. Mekies may have a vision for Red Bull's future, but unless it includes Verstappen at full throttle on his terms, that future could start slipping away faster than anyone expects. What Verstappen accomplished in Brazil wasn't just physical, it was intellectual. Starting from the pit lane after a complete overnight setup overhaul, most drivers would have used the race to collect data and minimize damage. But Max saw opportunity. He and his race engineer, Gianpiero Lambiase, made the bold call to go against the predictive models. While others planned two-stop strategies to avoid thermal wear, Max opted for a three-stop plan. Risky on paper, but in practice, it unlocked perfect tire performance windows at each stage of the race. It was a chess match at 300 km/h. Interlagos is no friend to overcut attempts. Its high elevation and quick degradation punish any tire mismanagement. Yet Verstappen managed each stint with surgeon-like precision. On hard compounds, he held track position long enough to undercut rivals on mediums. On mediums, he pushed hard enough to make time without burning the compound. By the time he switched to softs in the final stint, the field was fragmented and Verstappen was still calculating lap deltas, fuel mode offsets, and DRS opportunities in real time. And this is what fans miss when they reduce Verstappen's success to just car performance. His telemetry shows more than speed. It shows decision-making. Sector by sector, Verstappen adjusts lift points, brake bias, throttle maps, all while making moves on track. In Brazil, he even altered his line through turn 4 mid-race to improve traction out of sector 1 and protect himself against DRS attacks on the back straight. That's not luck. That's data-informed driving fused with instinct, a rare combination in any era of Formula 1. Then came the overtakes. Not reckless lunges, but timed, layered attacks. Against Russell, he delayed DRS activation until the second zone, baiting a defense before sweeping around the outside at turn 1. Against Gasly, he used brake pressure modulation to break traction on corner exit and force a mistake. These aren't just racing lines, they're psychological plays. Verstappen doesn't just beat drivers on the stopwatch, he dissects them corner by corner. And yet, through all this precision, he remained calm even after the lap 13 puncture. Most drivers would lose rhythm. Verstappen recalibrated. Tire pressure loss data came in. He pitted, changed plan C to plan A, rejoined, and immediately resumed attacking with zero degradation in lap time. That kind of resilience is what engineers dream of. It makes strategy tools more effective. It allows real-time optimization. It makes the impossible comeback not just feasible but mathematically probable. What happened in Brazil wasn't just a recovery drive. It was a psychological statement. Max Verstappen arrived on Sunday morning having suffered his first Q1 elimination on merit in years. The world was watching. The critics were circling. And yet, when the lights went out, there wasn't an ounce of doubt in his cockpit. That's the power of mental reset. Verstappen doesn't carry failure into race day. He processes it, learns from it, and buries it. By turn 1, he was already focused on what mattered: not ego, not excuses, but execution. Inside Red Bull, that mindset is changing the DNA of the team. Gone are the days of emotional highs and lows based on headlines or Horner-era dramatics. Verstappen sets the tone now, and it's clinical. His communication with Gianpiero Lambiase is minimal, targeted, and strategic. No fluff. No games. Engineers now work under the assumption that if Max speaks, it's because something's important. That clarity cuts through the fog of simulation models and conflicting opinions. In a paddock full of overthinking, Verstappen provides signal. And that's what Mekies is up against. The former Ferrari man brings a methodical, hierarchical management style. But Verstappen doesn't respond to hierarchy, he responds to performance. He doesn't play political chess. He plays racing. When Mekies tried to centralize strategic decision-making during the Brazil weekend, Verstappen quietly overrode it with his results. No press release. No confrontation. Just a podium from the pit lane. That's how you win power in a team like Red Bull, not with meetings, but with mileage. Verstappen's leadership doesn't come from shouting on the radio or storming into briefings. It comes from how he drives. The pit crew watches him recover 15 positions and believes more. The engineers see him nail a 3-stop strategy and trust the next call. And the junior staff? They look at the timing sheets and realize that even on his worst day, Max is still capable of something special. That kind of influence doesn't come from a title, it comes from consistency under chaos.